I hope you don't mind, but I would like to start with prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. May the Holy Spirit come down upon all of us, and let us learn something today about how to help one another and be safe and eat healthier, and then God may protect us all. Amen. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, once again, thank you very much for coming. I hope you learned something tonight. We learned it the hard way. I hope you never have to go down this road. My husband's book, if you're perusing it in line there or waiting for your carotenoid level to be taken, we learned it the hard way. We learned it by not eating right. My husband was never a heavy man, as you can see, but we were eating right, overstressed, and we came down with cancer, with no history of cancer in our family whatsoever. It was a scary journey. My husband prayed a prayer, the wisdom of Solomon. He said to God, if you show me the way, I will spread the word. And that's why we're here tonight, to spread the word. Maybe you could learn something. Maybe you could tell somebody else about it. We're going to have more of these. The scanning is free. In hospitals, it's $100 to get your carotenoid levels taken. So please, with no further ado, please welcome my cancer escapee, John Mara.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming. Man isn't feeling well, so he goes to see his doctor. The doctor examines him and then asks to speak with his wife. The doctor tells his wife that her husband has cancer. The wife asks, can he be cured? The doctor replies, there's a chance we can cure him with chemotherapy, but radiation and surgery, but you'll need to take care of him every day for the rest of his life. Cooking all the meals, cleaning up the vomit, changing the bedpan, driving him to the hospital for daily treatments, and so on. So when the wife comes out of the waiting room, the husband asks her, so what did the doctor say? The wife answers, honey, he said you're going to die. But that's not my wife. My wife supported me 100% through this whole ordeal. And if it wasn't for her and her strength and her support and her prayers most of all, I wouldn't be here today telling you this story. And again, it all started out about 4 years ago. I started with these urgencies and frequency of urination. And it was something that it was coming on more and more, and I noticed that when I would eat certain foods that had red dyes especially, I would even notice tinges of blood in my urine. So it brought a lot of concern for me, and I ended up, as my symptoms worsened and worsened and worsened, I went to go see a urologist. So I went to see him, and he did some CAT scans, and he said, we see some growths in your bladder, so we'll just take a look at it. We'll have to have a cystoscopy. So I said, what's that? He says, well, we just take a little scope, and we're going to put it in, and we'll just check to see what's there. So I says, okay, no big deal. So we scheduled it. So it was an evening that I'd gone out with my wife. It was a Legatus event where we go out, we have a nice dinner, mass, and so forth, and we have a nice talk. And during this event, like any other night, I had a nice meal, some chicken. I had a couple of cocktails. They were vodka cranberries, actually, and a couple desserts, and everything was good that night. So went home that night, but like any other night, but then what ended up happening is when I went to the toilet to void, I saw blood, a lot of blood, and it really, really scared me. So at that point, the next day I called my urologist. I said, I've got blood in my urine real bad. He says, okay, come in this afternoon and we'll do a cystoscopy for you. Well, that's where they basically take those probes there, that's two of them there, but they take one of them, and it goes up the urethra, and basically they go in to check to see what's in there. Well, he went in to see, and it was very, very painful, obviously, and that's why I took a picture of them, because it was the most excruciating pain I ever felt in my life. And I went ahead and like I said, he scheduled, he says, we're going to have to go in there and do a TURB, it's called. And that's where they go in, it's called the transurethral resection of the bladder tumor. And that's where they go in and basically take and they cut the tumors out and they send them in for biopsy. Well, I had it scheduled for that following Monday, and I went in, and everything was okay. And like I said, a lot of excruciating pain. It took me probably about 4 or 5 hours to get through enough of the pain, to get the pain level down to a number 3 level to get released from the hospital that day. So I go home and I'm doing fairly well, and of course there's a lot of blood in my urine, but it starts to clear up. Well then, my mother, who's here, she basically she sent me over and she sent me some cherries over to eat. So I eat these cherries, and I notice blood comes back out in my urine. Thinking, now what's going on? So I go back to my urologist, and I asked him, I said, when I eat these foods with red dyes and so forth, basically I end up, with blood in my urine. So he says, well, just stay away from those foods. Well, I found out that the cherries have actually red dye 40 in them, and I never knew that before, especially if they're not organic. Not only do they have the pesticides, herbicides, and so forth, they're loaded with red dye, and again, I knew early on that was one of the culprits that was irritating my bladder. So I get a call back, I go back in, or I go to see my urologist, and he says, well, by the way, you've got cancer. And he hands me this treatment, he says, you're gonna have to do these BCG treatments. So what ended up, it was a TA grade, which is a very low grade of cancer there. And it's basically, it was a very high grade, though aggressive cancer. So I went ahead and had these BCG treatments where they take this tuberculosis vaccine, they inject it into the bladder, it's supposed to eradicate the rest of the cancer cells. And I went through a series of 6 of these treatments for a week, or each week for 6 weeks. But in the meantime, and then not to mention going through it, very painful, and also I was not getting the answers I wanted also from my doctors. So in the meantime, I'm getting labeled as an anxious patient because I'm asking questions, not getting any answers. I'm asking them what caused my cancer. Well, we really don't know. We think smoking, being exposed to environmental toxins are the number 1 cause. But in the meantime, I don't smoke. I haven't been exposed to environmental toxins. And then when I ask him, well, when I eat these foods, it irritates my bladder, he says, well, then don't eat them. And I said, well, what could I eat? He goes, well, anything you want. And it's just, okay, well, there's no answer. So I went ahead and I did these. So then I thought, you know what, I need to seek out a holistic MD to find out, because there's something's going on with the foods and so forth, and I know that, nutrition plays a big thing into it. So, but I'm reading all these things, but again, the standard medical industry is very against all this. So I started praying and praying more for the wisdom of Solomon to know what caused it, and how to cure it, and how to keep it from coming back, because, all these other conventional ways, I was scared about it. So I went to see a holistic MD and Dr. Todd Pesic, and basically put me on a diet of all organic foods, and pretty much I was eating a pyramid diet here, like you see here. A lot of green vegetables, a lot of rainbow vegetables, proteins, fruits, omegas, and so forth. And if I did have any meats, it was grass-fed organic meat. Then I started researching about all these genetically modified foods, and I found out that, there's a lot of GMOs in a lot of the foods we have. And basically what the GMO is where they take they'll take a seed and they'll make it resistant to Roundup, which is a weed killer, and they call it Roundup Ready. So when it comes time for them to harvest the crop, they spray the crop and the weeds with this Roundup. It kills the weed, but it doesn't touch the crop itself. The crop still thrives, and it actually gives them double the yield of grain or whatever produce they have. So at that point, I says, I need to go all organic. So I started going all organic, and again, I was really feeling good, really doing well. But I'm still reading about how bad this cancer I had, very high grade, very aggressive. Doctors calling me, they want me to go in and get it treated. But in the meantime, like I said, we switch over to all organic, and where my wife Nancy had this rash all over her body, by the way, since she was 6 years old, by changing all her organic food, her rash disappears. So I thought, we're onto something here with this food. So, but like I said, because I was very scared about the type of cancer I had, the aggressiveness of it, I went to go seek. A friend of mine got me into the Cleveland Clinic, and through and it was able to get me with one of the top oncologists. So I go to see him, and basically he had told me that you've got a very high-grade aggressive cancer. And I said, well, look, I've done the BCG treatments, I'm changing my diet, I'm feeling good. I just need to get a scope, get a check right now because my urologist is not giving me the answers I need, and basically you're not going to find anything. And he says, well, but you have to understand, Mr. Marr, the type of cancer you have, if it does progress, we're going to have to go right for radical cystectomy. And basically what radical cystectomy is with the neobladder, basically is what's here. 5 major surgeries in one. They remove my bladder, my prostate, my lymph nodes, and 4 feet of my small intestines to reconstruct and give me a neobladder. And with this neobladder, though, you're incontinent, I have to wear diapers, I've got to train it, and basically that's barring any complications, which I will have probably the rest of my life, because again, you still have to change your diet, you're going to have bowel obstructions if you don't, because they're taking 4 feet of your intestines out and reconnecting, so there's always going to be complications. And again, you're going to be on types of medication because your body's not going to be able to absorb the nutrients and function like normal. So there's a myriad of complications that went along with that, and I just didn't like, where that was all going. So I started doing more research, and pretty much as you see the arrow down there, I was near the bottom, that basically if it keeps progressing, all the roads lead to radical cystectomy, according to conventional means. So I started looking at the statistics, and they didn't look good either. Basically, if you look at the chart here, it's basically less than 50% chance of it not reoccurring. And, again, after going through all that, that's the best they can give me. And again, I was looking at more, and again, the rate of progression is for low grade would be 50%, TA high grade, which I was, would be 60% possible reoccurrence in 5 years. And again, these are things that, when I was in school, I had to take true and false tests, and I went, and every time I answered those questions, I get them wrong 100% of the time. I'm just not good at 50-50 odds. So, again, the only way that the conventional methods are just cut, burn, and poison. And the problem is this, the pharmaceutical drugs, they're good, but they only suppress the immune system. And they only mask and alleviate the symptoms, but they don't cure the body and get to the root cause. So, again, I started doing more research, and on the average, chemotherapy and radiation are effective only 4 to 5% of the time for long-term recovery. Again, they're successful. Why they use success rates? Everything's based on 5-year survival, first of all, and then the success is based on the immediate success. If it shrinks the tumor, they say it's successful. Okay, again, they don't get to the root cause to whether or not it can come back. So doctors basically treat the effect, not the cause. And the average cost to treat a cancer patient is $400,000 to $1.8 million from diagnosis to death. And 27% of the people, this is another statistic I was really, surprised about, is 27% of the people who get cancer and do nothing get cured. Now, I knew that I wasn't going to fall into that category, but nonetheless, that was still out there. And I'm wondering, how could this be? And again, when I'll get into that. So, then back in the 1900s, 1 in 25 people died of cancer. Now, 1 in 4 people will be dying of cancer, and most actually, it's death by medicine. It's usually the treatments that cause the deaths. And then again, in 1964, 1 person in 214 contracted cancer. Now, 1 in 3 females and 1 in 2 males, which means either you or the person next to you is going to have cancer. And again, according to the Health and Disease, the determining factor is it's not uncommon for the average person to test between 4 and 5 on the pH level. And that's one of the things that I noticed then, is that my pH was consistently low. When I was then doing the BCG treatments, they would test my urine for microscopic blood, and if I had microscopic blood, I couldn't continue the treatment. Well, they did it either way, but I went and bought these test strips because I knew there was a correlation between what I was eating and then the blood in the urine from the red dyes especially. So I said, let me see how the microscopic blood appears and how it reacts to different foods. So when I was eating then non-organic foods, the microscopic blood count in my urine went way up. And when I was eating higher alkaline foods, plant-based foods, the alkaline, or my pH was going way down. Going up in my body. So I knew that there was something there, but again, I wasn't able to sustain it. So, and again, cancer patients routinely have a pH of 4 and 5 and low blood and low oxygen levels. And then I found out that cancer then die in a high alkaline, high oxygen environment. So once we get our pH above 8.5, the cancer cells start dying. So again, I was on these diets, I'm taking all these supplements, I'm taking chlorophyll, I'm taking iodine, I'm actually taking maple syrup and baking soda. I'm putting it in a little saucepan, I'm over low heat, I bring the baking soda and the maple syrup to a froth, and I'll add that to my green matcha tea, and I add a little bit of hemp seed to that, and basically it'll give me like an alkalizing drink. And what happens is the baking soda gets carried to the cancer cells like a Trojan horse with the maple syrup, and that's how it eradicates them and destroys the cancer cells. So anyway, so I was feeling real good, and I went in to go see my oncologist. I said, by the way, you're going to have to knock me out to do the test anyway before he puts that scope back in. So he said, well, Mr. Meyer, you have to understand, though, we're going to have to do these tests every 3 to 4 months. And I says, well, first of all, no, you're not going to, because then you have to knock me out. And he goes, well, we can't knock you out every time. He goes, usually these are just office procedures. I go, well, I said, you're not going to find anything, so we're not going to worry about that anyway. Well, I go in, and basically we're just supposed to go in there to check me out. I wake up, and basically I look, and my wife was awake, and she's all crying. I says, what's wrong? She goes, they found 4 new tumors bigger than the first ones. Right away, because of the research I did, I says, I'm not having the surgery. She goes, I know, I told them. I says, well, what do you say? What's going on? What happened? And she goes, well, he took me in the room, took me by the hand, and said, Mrs. Mara, your husband's in a very dire situation. And she proceeded to draw a diagram on a piece of paper, showed her the bladder and the condition and so forth, and said, look, this is a very high-grade aggressive cancer. Your husband's an anxious person. You have to tell him he has to have this surgery. And she looks out the window and says, doctor, you see out the window all these pillars and fountains and buildings? Were they built, do you think they were built by anxious leaders or calm followers? My husband's an anxious leader. I said, thank you. And and then I says, so basically, a couple hours later, doctor comes in the room, and he says, I says, doc, how bad is it? He goes, well, we don't know, we won't know until we get the pathology report. I says, well, your opinion, how bad does it look? He said, it doesn't look good. I said, okay. I said, so what are my options? I go, BCG treatment? He says, no, they were ineffective, which I agree. Something I had to retain in my bladder for 2 hours. I couldn't flush it down the toilet until I waited 15 minutes and added bleach first. I says, okay, I agree with that. I says, so what are my other options? He goes, get a second opinion. I go, wait, you kind of are my second opinion. I went to my urologist, now you. I go, you mean a third opinion? And remember, I'm still kind of groggy, and I'm like, and he goes, and he just looks at me. And I says, well, how does the rest of my bladder look? And he said, well, the rest of your bladder looks good. I said, well, doc, until we've exhausted every conceivable option, it's not even on the table. He goes, it's your choice, and he walks out. So that night, they send in these nurses, I call them shrink nurses, to try to talk me into it. Oh, Mr. Mara, you're okay, you're healthy, you'll be fine, you'll get through the surgery, you'll be okay. I says, no, you don't understand. Psychologically, I can't do this. So physically, yeah, maybe okay, but I can't do this psychologically. You don't get it. I says, it's like I walk in as a 51-year-old man, I get carried out as a 90-year-old, best that I can hope to recover be an 80-year-old. As I can't live like that, I can't lose my quality of life. So anyway, the following day, my wife picks me up, and I said, we're not going back. I said, I'm not having a surgery. I don't care if I have to be dead before if they want a biopsy or cut me open at all, that's it. So she goes, I know, I get it. So meantime, I get a phone call from the doctor, and he says, Mr. Mara, yes. I said, he goes, like you and your wife to come on down for a consultation. And I says, what's wrong? He goes, well, you got T1, G3, which is a very high-grade aggressive cancer. And I said, you know what, I'll get back to you. So, meantime, I go back and I go talk to my holistic doctor again. And I'm thinking, what did I miss? And I'm just, I told him, I says, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing the diet, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I says, I'm taking all the supplements. And he goes, well, just stick with it, keep going. And I told him, I said, well, one thing I noticed, when I was testing my urine for the microscopic blood, on those strips, they have a pH test. And my pH is always low. How do I I'm trying to get it up, but how do I get it up? He says, well, read this book called The pH Miracle by Dr. Robert Young. And I says, okay. So I started reading that book, and it started talking about how, different foods are alkaline and some are acidic and so forth, and how, again, cancer dies when it's above alkaline state. It was above, pH is above 8.5. So, and then it talks about acidosis and what causes acidosis. And it's a condition where there's too much acid in the body fluids. And again, what causes it is basically just the foods that we're eating and a buildup of things. So, again, I was using these test strips here to test my urine with those. So, I'm doing that, and I'm thinking, okay, and I says, then I'm praying again for the wisdom of Solomon. And one day when I was at Mass, one of the readings at Mass was from the book of Daniel. And in the book of Daniel, it says that before Daniel was supposed to go into the service of the king, he was supposed to eat at the king's table all the choice foods. But he says, we don't want to defile ourselves, just give me and my companions just vegetables and water for 10 days and see how we compare to the rest of the men. Well, after 10 days, not only were they healthier, they were stronger and wiser than all the other men. So I knew then that was the diet I had to go on. It had to be a more radical diet. So basically it was just vegetables and water only. No fruit, not even carrots, no tomatoes, no beets, nothing that basically had any sweetness at all in it, or any kind of sugar that could basically feed the cancer. So again, I started eating, as you see in the chart here, all the high alkaline foods, and they were in basically just the vegetable column there, except for those ones, like I said, the carrots and the beets and the tomatoes. And then, again, just going through, and I was learning more and more about all these alkaline foods, and just stuck with them. But again, I was getting my pH up. I started juicing cucumbers, celery, kale, spinach, collard greens. I would put a little lemon in there, cayenne pepper. I'd put cucumbers, I said already, some ginger and garlic. So I'd add these every day, and I'd be juicing every day, and I would get my pH up. And then I would also do baking soda. I would take that baking soda and water and add it to it and drink that in between. And usually I'd put like a half a teaspoon in a tall glass of water about 4, maybe 5 times a day. So that was working also. So I was able to get my pH up, but I wasn't able to sustain it. And that was where I was running into a problem. Then I started reading this other book called The Only Answer to Cancer by Dr. Leonard Caldwell. And again, I'm reading all this information simultaneous, plus I'm watching a ton of videos day and night, just researching continually. So then I find out how he talks about stress and how stress creates acidosis. And there's different types of stress. You got the physical, the chemical, and the emotional. And again, I didn't have the chemical, I didn't have really the physical stress, it was mostly the emotional stress, obviously. And there's all kinds of stresses out there. And what happens is stress suppresses the immune system. And there's, again, relationship stress, work stress, finances, unforgiving, harboring negative thoughts, so forth. So basically it was time that I had to deal with the stress. Well, it was how did you deal with that? Well, that's where basically I went to a higher power. I had to turn it over to God. So being Catholic, I went to confession for starters, and then from there, I try to live the gospel the best I can. Forgive people I didn't necessarily want to forgive, let go of my anger, stop driving, I stopped watching the news, just different things. And I went to Florida, to the beach by myself, just to get away, and like I said, just different things to basically get rid of stress until the symptoms were gone. So, and again, I did that, and it wasn't, once I did that and I started doing the diet, then I noticed every single day, in the beginning I started going through a detoxification, because again, the body was just purging itself from all the toxins and chemicals. But then once I went through that detoxification, every day started feeling better and better and better. And little by little, all those symptoms that brought me to the doctor, which were the urgency and frequency of urination, disappeared. And they're just kind of gone. So after about 3 months, or 3 months, I basically was feeling so good that I says, I need to go see the doctor and get a scope to see how I feel. But this time, I told him I want to be in the office, I want to be awake. And I told him I would never, ever, ever have a scope awake. But this time, I felt so good. I says, I had zero pain. I says, I want to see myself. Well, it's a good thing I did, because I basically went in the first time after 4 months, and he puts a scope in, and he looks around, and looks, and pulls it out, and he goes, well, Mr. Marr, everything looks pretty good, except he saw 3 little red areas of concern, he called them. And they were basically where, I remember, I had 4 tumors just taken out. Well, to me, it looked like just kind of new, pink, fleshy skin that was still healing. And he called them areas of concern. Well, again, I'm no doctor, but I was in the sewer business, and I used to watch a lot of sewer videos where I could look for defects in these sewer pipes. Well, it's no different a sewer pipe or, inside of a manhole or inside of in a bladder. So basically, I'm looking for defects. And again, I was looking at a lot of YouTube videos, and I knew what healthy bladders look like and what unhealthy ones look like, obviously. So, and I'm looking, I was very pleased with what I saw. And he goes, well, I guess, Mr. Marr, there's 3 red areas. I go, and he goes, so I guess we'll see you, in 3 months. I'm sorry, he goes, there's 3 red areas. He goes, those are areas of concern. I go, yeah. And he goes, those can be carcinoma in situ, which is the beginning of cancer. Now, like you saw in that chart earlier, but carcinoma in situ is the cancer that develops right underneath the lining of the bladder, inside the lining of the bladder, where they call it the most dangerous because they say it spreads real rapidly. Well, and I says, okay, Carl, I know what that is. And he says, well, we can take and we can biopsy those. And I go, no, you're not. And he looks at me and says, matter of fact, consider, I think, what I've been through, the 2 TURBs and now the BCG treatment. I go, I think it looks pretty good. Matter of fact, next time I come in, it'll be pristine, I told him. Yeah. So I leave, and he says, well, I'm going to go tell your wife the good news. So he walks out, and he says, Mrs. Marr, he goes, just want to let you know that, we found some areas of concern. And I go, no, they're not. And he goes, well, they could be. He goes, we want to take a wait and see. Your husband wants to take a wait and see attitude or approach on it. And she says, well, I want to know, are we still in a dire situation? And he says, well, we don't know. And he goes, no, are we in a life-threatening situation? Is he getting, last time he told me he was going to die. Is he going to die or what? She goes, oh, no, he's okay. Everything's okay. We don't see any cancer now. She goes, okay, good. So we leave. Again, I go back. I stayed on my protocol. And then at this point, I started cheating a little bit here and there. I wasn't exactly that strict. I started eating some quinoa and so forth. So I was adding things into my diet and some beans and so forth, but still feeling great. So I go see him 4 more months later, and he goes in and he looks. He first says, I see some inflammation. I go, where? He goes, right there. I go, where? There was nothing there. And he keeps looking, he looks. So he looks and he looks and he says, well, your prostate looks enlarged. I'm thinking to myself, come on. And he goes, well, for a man your age. I says, well, he goes, now we can check it afterwards. I go, okay, we'll do the examination after. So I turn over, he does the examination, and he goes, well, Mr. Marr, everything looks good. I guess I'll see you in 4 months. I go, for what? He goes, to make sure it doesn't come back. Now, I was upset from his lack of reaction from the last time, because my wife had said to me, after the first time, because I was very quiet for like a week, and she says, what's going on? And I go, what's going on is his lack of reaction. It's not like he said to him, way to go, good job, how about, let's, keep up the good work. Nothing. It was like he was almost like upset with me because I didn't do it his way. So he goes, well, I guess I'll see you in 4 months. And I go, for what? He goes, make sure it doesn't come back. I says, I'm not worried about it coming back. Are you? And he looks at me and I says, matter of fact, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me. And he looks and I go, really? I says, Doc, I had way too much stress and I was eating all the wrong foods. And I gave him a real quick summary of what I did. He listened, but I'm going to go tell your wife the good news again, and he walks out. It's like no reaction. So he goes back to her and tells her again, And, I says that we're, and again, no evidence of the cancer. So we leave, and at that point, I said, I'm not going to go back. And I haven't been back since. And people say, well, how do you know, that you don't have cancer? Well, it's going to be going on 4 years now, number one. Number two, the symptoms that I had were the frequency and urgency of urination. They're gone. They're non-existent. I mean, I used to wake up 4, 5, 6 times a night. I don't wake up at all unless now I'm drinking a lot of, like an idiot, I'll drink tea before I go to bed and eat a lot of watermelon. And I'll get up maybe at 4 or 5 or maybe 6 just one time, but that's because I've got a full bladder. But not because, like before, where I didn't drink anything and I'd have to wake up 4 or 5 times. I would go and cut the grass, and every 10 minutes I'd have to come in and go to the bathroom. I couldn't make it even driving an hour somewhere. I'd have to stop halfway. And again, boy, it was just horrible. And all those symptoms, even that sensation, they're gone completely. And again, it was never that I had pain. It was just that sensation that wasn't right that I had. So, again, what causes cancer? Again, cancer is just inflammation in the body, and most of it is from the diet that we are, and then again, the stress. But the thing is that cancer is not the problem, okay? It's, basically, it's not the problem, but it's not, what it is, it's about what we eat, when we eat it, why we're eating it, how we eat it, where it comes from, and what state of mind. So, again, that's how I live today. It's what I eat now is depending on, I'll eat anything I want as long as I'm not stressed out. But then when I'm stressed out, that's when I really, really watch. And again, it only has to be done 100%, the diet like I did the protocol, till the cancer's gone. Then once it's gone, we can go ahead and live our life. Because what I've noticed also in the meantime is that, a lot of the foods I used to have, and 10 years ago, I was 45 years old. I'd wake up every morning rolling out of bed with extreme back pain. I'd have shoulder pain where I couldn't wash my hair or lift my arms to wash my hair in the morning. My knees were bad. I couldn't squat down or bend down. I had stiff necks. I had migraines continually, psoriasis. My fingertips were always cracked. I'd have just all kinds of little issues here and there. Well, I get cancer. Like I said, it was the best thing that happened to me because now every ache, pain, ailment is gone. I wake up every morning now at 55 like I'm 20. I jump out of bed. I can't, and no matter what I do, I can't hurt myself. The only time I feel an ache or pain or an ailment is if I eat the wrong food. For example, I eat chicken. I was eating chicken then, even organic chicken. And then my pain in my back started coming back into my shoulders. I'm thinking, no, it can't be. So I stop eating it, it goes away. I eat it again, it comes back. I stop eating it, it goes away. Now, I haven't had pain I haven't had chicken in, 8 months. I haven't had pain in over 8 months. I don't know what pain is anymore. Again, I'm forgetting what it is unless I want to eat some chicken. I found out my problem with my knees were eggs. I never ate a lot of eggs, but when I ate them, again, they would affect my knees. And now my knees are perfect. I have no aches or pains in my knees at all, and they're good. Pork would affect my sternum. I'd get a pain like I was having a heart attack. And again, that's non-existent because I don't eat pork anymore. And again, these are little things that I dabbled in afterwards. After I purify my body, I beat the cancer, and I'm feeling great. I started eating these foods one by one to see how my body reacted. And that's when I made the connection. And then people say, well, what about organic food, non-organic food? Does it make a difference? Absolutely it makes a difference. Because again, I know I felt it. When I had the cancer, whenever I ate non-organic food, the microscopic blood in my urine would go up. Whenever I eat non-organic food or organic food and plant-based food, the microscopic blood went down. So it was like a gauge I had right there that would tell me whether or not these foods, and not only that, it's now the way I feel. When I met my wife 25 years ago, she had asthma very severely. She was getting allergy shots twice a week. She had to carry an inhaler with her. She had a rash all over her body since she was 6. The doctors couldn't figure out what it was. All these problems she had, and she was very allergic to MSG. If we went to a restaurant, she had to make sure that nothing was near MSG. And when I went through this whole ordeal with the cancer and I'm eating all organic, I told her, I says, no, the whole family's got to go organic now. And we did. And after that, not only did, like I said, did I heal myself of cancer, but her rash disappears. My son, who's got acne, was horrible acne, his disappears because he's juicing, put a lot of garlic in there, and going on the plant-based diet, it clears up. You know, just everyone's getting, in our family, gets healthier and healthier. Everyone around us gets sick all last winter, they're getting coughs and colds and flus, except us. You know, we're all just, you know, perfectly healthy. And if, again, I'm not saying we never do. I mean, last week, I started getting a little bit of the sniffles. You know, because my grandkids went to nursery school, all the germs are going to come home. And of course, you know, they're with us and they got to kiss grandpa on the lips, so, you know, the germs are right there. Well, I started getting a little bit of a cold. What I do, I juice more vitamins, more, you know, supplements, and basically and I sleep a little more and it just disappears, goes away. Again, because I keep my immune system 100%. How do I do that? Basically by juicing. You know, that's one of the big things. Juicing is very important. If it wasn't for juicing, let's see here. Juicing, what it does is it builds the embryonic stem cells in our body. It gives an immune system instant energy, and it also builds the blood count, which rebuilds every cell in the body. And basically what it is it takes 1 pound of vegetables to make 8 ounces of juice. And in that 8 ounces of juice, you've got all the vitamins and minerals that are delivered right to the body without the body having to digest it and break it down. And that's why juicing is so important, because when we absorb those nutrients and our body doesn't have to labor, you know, every time we digest, it creates also a stress on our body. So, and again, we need those nutrients. And I juice every day, continually, even now. And when the days I don't, that's why, again, I'll take supplements to make sure that I'm getting all the vitamins and nutrients. Because the one thing we need to do is keep our score up. You know, that's one of the things we have here is the score on, you know, with the biophotonic scanner, which measures the carotenoid level, which is the total antioxidant level in our bodies. And the reason why that's important is the higher the score, the more antioxidants, then, again, the immune system is functioning 100%. You've got the oxygen, you've got the chlorophyll, and you've got the basic nutrients to build the stem cells in the body to heal the body from any inflammation or any diseases. And that's the main thing of juicing. And again, when we can't juice, that's why we should take some form of supplement. You know, one thing is, I mean, I didn't take these supplements when I had the cancer, the Pharmanex ones, but again, they're guaranteed to absorb. And that's why we need something in our bodies when we can't do the juicing. So when I don't juice, I'll do the supplements. And again, I do a combination of both. And the reason, again, is that, you know, to keep the body alkaline and to keep the inflammation down. Thank you. So then the other thing I was doing was wheatgrass. The benefits of wheatgrass was 1 ounce of wheatgrass provides the equivalent of 2.5 pounds of vegetables. So this was one of the superfoods that I was doing. I was adding it to my juicing when I was doing the protocol. And I still do it now. I add it to the juice. And again, because the increased benefits of it. What it does is it's almost like it is a natural detoxifier of the body. And what it does is it detoxifies and it cleans the liver and the blood. And then again, it provides chlorophyll, which brings the building blocks to, for like I said, for our stem cells to build. And I was doing, again, with the flu, you know, you wanted flu shots, was basically it's wheatgrass shots. You know, it's the same thing. These are natural flu shot instead of having to get shot with a flu vaccine. But one of the other things that I also found too is that blood type has a lot to do with our diet. There's a lot of people who are different blood types. I happen to be A positive. The two major types are A positive and O positive. But my type, A positive, I should be a vegetarian. And I found that when I eat vegetarian foods or vegan foods, I feel the best. Some of the foods that I should avoid are, again, meat, dairy, some wheat. And again, these are all things that do react negatively on my body. So, you know, this is something I'm just now researching and learning a lot into, and there's a lot to be said about it. again, these are all different ones here. You've got type O, which is known, some of the characteristics, they're known to have strong immune and digestive systems. Type O also have efficient metabolisms, which are naturally hard against illnesses. So, and then type A, again, like I said, these are mostly the vegetables are the best foods for type A, and again, avoiding the meat. And I know with myself, like I said, the chicken just doesn't agree with me. And when I stay away from these types of meats, I don't have that inflammation. Because, like with me, with the inflammation, the reason why chicken affects me is because I used to do construction, and I built up a lot of muscles in my back, and my neck, and in my arms. And whenever I eat any animal protein, it gets delivered through the blood system to those muscles, and those muscle receptors draw in those proteins, and it immediately feeds them and creates inflammation, because that's what animal protein does, it inflames the muscle. And as soon as I have that inflammation, that muscle, it puts pressure on the nerves, and when I flex it, it gives me pain. And basically, if I eat all my plant-based foods, and I get all, like the beans, the legumes, and get my source of protein in the plant-based foods, I find that I end up with muscle strength, and I don't have any inflammation. And now I'm actually stronger than I was before, even though I was a little bulkier with my muscles, like I said, 10 years ago. So, there's a lot here, and basically, the main thing is cancer is not a death sentence. It's just a warning sign. It's just telling us that we've got too much, we're not eating the right foods, and we've got too much stress in our lives. And we need to reverse them both 100% just until the cancer is gone. And basically, it's not what the doctors portrayed. Again, it's just a warning sign that says we need to make a radical change, and that's what I had to do in my life. I had to basically not just change my diet, but also eliminate the stress and eliminate and deal with it. And now people say, well, what do you do now? Don't you have stress now? Of course I do. But when I do, I really watch what I eat, if I eat anything at all. Last year I was at the grocery store, I lost it, and went through a lot of stress. In those days, I hardly ate. I lost about 10, 15 pounds last summer. But, the cancer didn't come back. And that's the main thing. And again, it's just a small sacrifice, that I had to pay to make sure it didn't come back until I was able to deal with the stress. And then now I can basically eat what I want again. And again, I'll eat what I want in moderation, because I've noticed that all these foods, these toxic foods, they do affect the body. And I'll eat, it could be something small, and I'll feel it right away now. And it's amazing because, when I wake up every morning, I don't have any pain or aches, and when I eat something wrong, I'll feel a little bit, and again, I'll know right away, and that's when I'll just stay away from it. So, but thank you all for listening, and open up for some questions.
When you said you didn't take the supplements, did you take Dr. Todd supplements when you were going through that?
Yes, it was standard process supplements. They're a good supplement. Any good supplement will be good. And I was also taking, what's it called, Garden of Eden?
Right,
Garden of Eden, those supplements. Any good, good supplement will do. But, diet alone's not going to work. We got to have more than just the food. We also need the supplements, because unfortunately, all the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients we need aren't present in the foods anymore. Even the organic foods, they're still, nutritionally deficient in many ways. Again, if you don't have the correct crop rotation, and again, if we're not eating all the different varieties of food. So that's why, especially when our immune system, when we do get cancer, is so compromised that we need to build it back up. So we need to basically get every vitamin and mineral that we can get on, get built back in our body to build it back up again.
We were just taking so many supplements. You saw that.
Yeah.
Right? This is like compact for
Okay.
antioxidants.
Yeah.
That's what you mean. So my pharmacy, my kitchen pharmacy.
That's what mine looks like. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
okay.
a lot.
We just felt because we could scan these.
Yeah,
See, they came to us. Robert McSween came to us.
Yes.
After reading the book and knowing and scanned us.
right,
Okay, they were surprised how high we scan, like we walk the walk.
sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So, if you do decide to take supplements, we did find out with the other supplements on the market, because we've been very cautious of what we would love to sell a bunch of books,
Yeah,
but you could go home and what we just who told you tonight.
Right.
Okay, I'm gonna be straight with you. You could just come back and call.
We get phone calls from around the world. Knocks on our door, sad.
Yeah.
Okay? Phone calls, I'll call him for dinner. I'm like, you're still on the phone, you're still on the phone, you're still on the phone. So when people tell us, we say, we did find a vitamin that you could actually scan and know it's working, because so many don't.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's why we would say that we would have these here, and that we would promote them here, because we could see they're working. Because people did come up to us and say, well, how do I know? Well, come back in 90 days.
Yeah.
I tell people, go home, go juice. Change your lifestyle, come and scan, it's free. Really, still free, it's $100 at a hospital. It's still free.
Does anything affect that skin? I'm religious on organic, but I had a surgery, two surgeries back to back, and I seemed to scan so low,
Okay.
and I didn't know if
Yeah.
stress.
Oh, yeah, stress.
See, because when he got the cancer, not that he wasn't stressed out already, but then when you find out you have cancer, you're more stressed.
Right.
Well, surgeries also put the body under stress
I
also.
see.
Physical, right.
Oh, because
All those chemical, or the medications that you're under and so forth.
And being that he's a man, people come and say what he needs is, muscle. He's losing muscle mass, and blah, 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 blah. Well, that's why muscle builders or bodybuilders, they might look great, but you ever notice how they're always in pain?
Yeah.
Because muscle has to be broken down to be built back up. What muscles are is inflammation. That's what muscles are. It's inflammation. You eat the meat to break it down. The body kicks out the acid, therefore now you have a muscle because you build up the meat. You build up the muscle through meat. God bless it. You want all that pain? Go right ahead.
Right.
That's why there was, I heard today, had a big workout today, and I got to take some Advil today. Okay. If you look great, you feel great, good, you don't have cancer, go, but we can't do that. We can't. We found out he can't have that meat and then try to work out. His blood type is different too.
Right.
So, inflammation is why meat causes cancer.
I see.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? It causes inflammation. When your body's under a state of inflammation, it can't fight anything.
Yeah.
Okay? Oxygen starves the cancer, because people say oxygen doesn't kill cancer. No, it starves it.
Starts.
The inflammation due to acid is feeding it. So you're going to actually starve the cancer from what it needs to live on. You've heard of hyperbaric chambers, is that what they're called? Oxygen, like I said, Michael Jackson had it. He was onto something. Okay? And I have to interject. Never give me a microphone. When we were at Cleveland Clinic, a gentleman in front of ours is on the board. So he got us, quote, the best of the best. Okay, he's like, you're Nancy, this guy, you gotta listen to this guy. Nancy, he's got to have the surgery. Well, if this is the best of the best, because we were supposed to be somebody, we went under a guise of another name. I mean, we had our name there, but we were supposed to be like a Cleveland Clinic doctor's family that got to see this other doctor right away. Supposed to be the top urologist, oncologist. Well, if this was the best, because this guy does surgery on sheiks and kings from Saudi Arabia that come in from the country, all right? This guy is telling me, Mrs. Mara, this is textbook. He's got to have this. It's a life-threatening situation. He drew me this diagram. He doesn't know my husband. He had surgery once, something so long time ago. The nurses were like, take him home. He's the most miserable patient we've ever had. I'm like, put it for our doctor. You're going to ask me to take this guy home. And we did. Because I knew that he knew in his heart, when he said his no is no, it always has been. His no is no. But if this was the best, he said, Mrs. Mara, this is textbook. And they look at you with that coldness. Because there's a lot of the story that we couldn't all tell today. When he had the very first surgery, when they told me, Mrs. Mara, they're just polyps, we'll take it out, we'll see you in a couple hours, I knew something was wrong. 7, 8 hours later, he comes out. And no one's telling me anything. The doctor comes down, well, they're pretty angry polyps. What the heck's an angry polyp? We took some aggressive biopsies. If he does persist to bleed more than 24 hours, come back in. Well, he's out of it because he's, stenotic. He's underneath the, he's right, he was under the anesthesia. He didn't know what's going on. So I'm listening to the directions. Okay? He comes home. Okay? I have to put this down. He has a bag, right? The bag's here. This is barbaric. I have to tell you this because they don't tell you this when you go ahead with this, okay? When I see a catheter to put up my husband's prostate, you say, okay, childbirth might be easier than this. Because he was in pain, okay? Then he comes home with a bag full of blood. Red blood. Something you see out of a horror movie?
Right.
On the next day, he's emptying it and it's filling up again. Now, he doesn't know what the doctor said because he was under anesthesia. I said, we gotta go back. He goes, why? He goes, I go, John, that's not normal. He said, within 24 hours, there should be no more blood. I said, you just empty it out. He goes, well, this is gonna fill up again. It did. It filled up a third time. And then next morning when he went in and he told them how much blood, they're like, oh, okay, well, all right. When they put him in a room right away, that's when they came in and said, oh, there's that much blood because you do have cancer. And that's how they told him.
Oh, yeah.
By the way. Yeah.
Yeah, by the way.
Okay? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, if I
Yes.
may, I have had cancer, breast cancer, in 2007. And I just want to spread this out a little bit. It's not just cancer, but heart. My son at 40 had a heart attack, passed out twice before he called 911, and he had to have 6 stents put in. I'm 74. I knew about some of this back in '85 when my husband had heart, my sister had heart, my brother-in-law had a heart attack. But we didn't, I thought I was feeding my family well and all that, and I didn't really do anything. But 4.5 years ago, when I turned 70, I decided I was going to change to plant-based. So I'm not going to go into a long story about me, but one of the things, key things that I'm hearing from you and that I think is really important and I'd like to put my 2 cents toward is you need to do your own study. You need
Right.
to be your
Well put.
own advocate.
Absolutely.
And you need to have someone else, whether it's a
Absolutely.
wife, a friend, because when you're in pain, you can't do that for yourself. And that's really important. You need to have a good positive attitude, but you need to do your study. And there are people who have said, books that I've read, if you spend 2 10-hour days studying up on this, going to certain websites and what have you, we'll talk about cancer only, in that amount of time, you're going to know much more than your oncologist does, because the oncologists don't have the time, they and all the other medical doctors, they are pills, surgery, cut, and that burn. And I had radiation, and I had pills, but I went off the pills in 1.5 years. I said, sorry, I'm not going to continue because they were giving me problems. You know, my friend, my best friend, is still on them 10 years after hers. After 5, they said, we want you to do another 5. Yay. But the thing is, you need to be your own advocate. You need to do the research yourself. You need to find what you believe in and follow that. And I just want to differ on one thing, because I kept hearing you talk about plant-based. But I did hear the word moderation, and I have a thing about that, because meat, dairy, and various other things like that turn on the cancer genes. And when you don't take them, it turns it off. But why, once you've turned it off, would you want to take a chance at it being turned on again? So it's really a total lifestyle change. And I think you demonstrated very well how every time you took one of those, you know, something happened. Again, you got the pains back and what have you.
I would feel the effect of the different foods, yes. I
Yeah,
mean, different
so-
foods would create inflammation in my body, and I would notice wherever it would be, yeah, definitely.
You can't cheat. If you have the cancer, you can't cheat.
But I mean, even after, I'm sorry,
No,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to say, because again, I really disagree. If you
No,
don't
no, no.
mind.
We eat
When-
like vegetarian, vegan 6 days a week. And when we go to anything with a church or an event, we splurge.
All right, but I'm throwing out my view. That's
Right.
all I want to do.
You're saying no meat.
Yeah, which
Right.
is, and that's a hard thing for people to
Yes, it
digest,
is.
and that's why
Yes, it
people,
is.
that's why people and even some doctors who are doing this will say, okay, moderation, what have you. But keep in mind, because you can read it in all the books, Colin Campbell's China study, they gave the rats the dairy, and they got the tumor. And
Yes.
they took it away, the tumor went away. They
Right.
gave it to them, they
Right.
got the tumor. They took it away. It
Do you know
went
what she's
away.
talking about? It's called the China Study. And it's in the movie Forks Over Knives. Have anyone heard that? Forks Over Knives in the China Study? You're right on. Because when I brought my daughter for just a physical for college, I went and took her to Dr. Pesic. He sat her down and he said, casein in milk causes cancer. Do not drink milk in college. My daughter was like, oh my gosh. Then he went through every vaccine she should not get before she goes to college.
Right.
and went through every disease that she could get or side effect from every vaccine. You know, I love it. I'm a mother, right? That means no sex. But anyway, right? You know, because all the vaccines are out there for, you know, venereal diseases. Guess what? Don't do it. But the point I'm making is, you're right. And he did go to her about meat. Like Dr. Pesic, you work for Dr. Pesic, says no meat. Dr. Castleberry goes a little meat.
Yeah.
They differ.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's correct. But like I told somebody this morning, 80%, right now we do 80% plant-based, 20% meat at all?
Not even.
Not
I'll do meat. I'll do grass-fed beef once a week. I don't do chicken anymore, or pork, or ham, or turkey, or any of that. I gave that all up because again, it's not worth it. I had pain with it actually, so I mean that's why I gave it up. But the grass-fed beef doesn't bother me so far, and I enjoy it once in a while, so I will have it. And like I said, I'm experimenting still to see. You know, people say, "Oh, aren't you worried about the cancer coming back?" Well, again, I'm not, because I know what causes it, and I know how to cure it now, and how to keep it from coming back, because again, I prayed for that wisdom to know, and that's what God showed me. And again, once you beat it this way, you know, you go right back on the diet. I mean, if it came back, I would go right back on the diet again, and, you know, let the body heal itself.
Can I tell the story about your dad and the salad?
Sure.
Okay. Because when we had cancer, we had no meat, right? Zero. We didn't juice it, we ate it green, we'd eat it green, juice it green, okay? So the point of the story was, when he went away to Florida, his father went with him the one night, and his father says, he made a huge salad of that, and he sat down. He goes, and I wanted to take some. He said, hey, this is mine, not yours, because that's what he did. That's how much green we ate. And that's all he ate. People says, was he hungry? Yes, all the time. But
I just ate more broccoli, more asparagus, Brussels sprouts, and people say, well, what happens when you're hungry? I eat more of it. I eat more broccoli. I mean, I would do 3 dishes of it.
salt,
I didn't
pepper.
eat just one bowl of soup, you know, vegetable soup. I ate 4 or 5 bowls of vegetable soup. I eat huge, like I said, a big vat of salads. I would juice 4 or 5 times a day. You know, it was just constant. I just filled myself up. I couldn't get enough food, so I would just eat more and more and more vegetables. My wife was always chopping, cooking, cleaning, you know, just chopping and cleaning up and just constant. And, you know, matter of fact, my father, he'd come to me a year later, and he was actually urinating pure blood also. And he says, what do I do? And I said, well, if you go to the doctor, I go into the whole routine. I says, they'll do this, this, and this. I said, or what you could do is what I did, the diet. Well, long story short, he did. My mom was just sitting there. She did the same thing. That's all she did was cook day and night. Just cook for my dad, just constantly, just vegetables. And again, because I told him, you can eat as much vegetables as you want, but you just can't eat anything else. And again, he had to give up his wine, he had to give up his pasta, his bread, you know. And, you know, he loves salad, but he always had a loaf of bread to go with it. And I was like, no, you can have the salad, but no bread this time. Well, he did it, long story short, and after a month, no visible blood, no microscopic blood, 100% cleared up. You know, now he's in Italy enjoying himself, God bless him. So, again, the diet will work for anything and everything in my mind. You know, I mean, not everyone's going to be a little different. Everyone's got to tweak it. Again, we got to, you know, I believe that we should have our blood analyzed to see what we're deficient in nutrient-wise and see what we're overloaded in toxin-wise. And because everyone's different. And again, adjust the diet according to that. And, you know, and when we do that and we build the immune system up and get the immune system functioning 100%, basically then all the organs and everything in our body can repair itself like it wants to do. Because cancer, all it is cells trying to heal themselves but get disrupted in the process. They're inflamed cells. And if we don't disrupt that process, the body will heal itself. And what disrupts it is the foods, the carcinogens in the foods we eat, and certain foods that are naturally inflammatory foods, and also stress, which is really the biggest one. Yes, one question.
I asked this earlier of Nancy, but for the group and also for you, I'd like to know what you do for eating sweets. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people have a sweet tooth. And on this diet, what do you do if you don't do dairy and grains? It's hard.
Well, I'll do, if we get a sweet tooth, correct? We have dried mangoes, dried mangoes. Pineapple is an alkaline. Believe it or not, pineapple is alkaline. Just like lemon, it's acid outside of the body, but inside the body is alkaline. You have to kind of know your chemistry. Okay? We do eat fruit, but now we eat fruit. Of course, when we have cancer, we eat no fruit. Fruit is to be eaten by itself. Never mix it with something else. Why? Fruit ferments. So whatever you eat with it, you're causing acid to start. You're causing the fermentation. You're causing the gas. You're causing the bloat. If you're going to have fruit, good time to have would be in the morning. But don't eat anything with it a couple hours later. Don't eat anything for a couple hours. Or you're going to have it for dessert and wait a couple hours after dinner. Fruit should be eaten alone. You can't, I tell people, you cannot, there's a friend of mine who's having trouble with thyroid. In fact, she's going to your organization. She's like, I put it on weight, I put it on weight. I said, you can't be eating all vegetables. Because when you eat all vegetables, you can't put on a pound.
Yeah.
You can put on weight with fruit. You can.
There's no calorie counting with vegetables. So, and
The
again,
people said, well, he was getting too thin. I said, he'd be thinner with chemo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay? I'd be driving him. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
We have 4 children. How was to tell them Dad's going to be okay? My daughter at the time, my oldest daughter, was in Houston. She knew the story, but didn't know really everything. I didn't tell her everything. My one was just starting out of state. I said, don't worry, it'll be okay. At the time, how old was she? Going to like 9th grade, 10th grade. She's like, oh, Dad, going to die. The emotion, oh my gosh. No, just, that's why God gives you teenagers, because they're so selfish at one point in life, they have to take care of themselves. Thank you, God. Mommy will take care of everything. And my young boy, I just said, Dad's going to be okay. I just knew that if he had the surgery, he'd be miserable. There's a person that had his surgery, 67 years old, same doctor, 67 years old this gentleman was, John's doctor. When I say John's doctor, the oncologist from Cleveland Clinic, he had what John was supposed to have out. His bladder, his prostate, his lymph nodes, and the bottom part of the intestine to make the new bladder. He died a year later anyway. Okay? My husband gets on a bladder cancer support group. They perish within 2 to 3 years after having the surgery. The ones that do live don't have that quality of life. Like he's not he's as much I always tell people, like, oh, he goes to church, he's so holy. I'm like, yeah, he might be holy. He's got a temper like you wouldn't believe. He's so mad. He was so mad about things. I said, you understand, he's not going to be the man that he wants to be. And I don't want my youngest, who I still have at home, my 12-year-old, to know a miserable father. You see those catheter commercials on TV?
Yeah.
That's what we were bid today. Some people can handle it. Some people that doesn't bother. I just whenever I was in Washington D.C. with my 12-year-old, this gentleman goes, you get infections. Well, yeah, sometimes it leaks. Well, yeah, sometimes it this. And well, yeah. Some people deal with it beautifully. Not him. And I knew that. And so when the doctor says, well, Mrs. Marr, I just don't understand. We are in a life-threatening situation. But it's his doctor. It's his body. So, I don't know if there's any more questions, because we have Kate, I want Kate to talk for a second. Are there any more questions before we have Kate up? Because we will be around here as long as you need us to be.
Could I say one thing about the sweet?
Sure.
Who asked that question?
Joyce, in the pink, about the sweets.
Okay. When you start eating this way, your taste buds change. And if you go 2, 3, 4 weeks, before you know it, you won't miss it. Where you miss the sweet is on the emotional level. And then it's a matter of figuring out why you're missing it, okay? My daughter is changing, but she has a terrible time with the sweets. So, but that's the part, your taste just changes. And that taste the vegetables real the way they are, even with no dressing on them. And stuff tastes good, and you feel good, and you go, wow, this is worth doing. And it gradually, it gets better.
Thank you. You're right. I'd like to introduce Kate Perone. We just met Kate, how long ago? 2 months ago?
Yeah.
3 months ago? Kate presently has cancer. She's been told by 4 different doctors different opinions about her cancer. She's on her journey right now. Kate is going to do what we did against a lot of pressure.
Yes.
So this is Kate's journey right now, and hopefully we'll have her back at our next time we have our next scan party.
Yeah.
And Kate will give us an update. Thank you.
Yes, I will. Because actually, I'm not sure if I have cancer.
But you were told
But
you
it's,
did.
yes, I was. Yeah, no, it's been a really crazy roller coaster. And even if it is not cancer, it is a very strange mass that is really kind of freaking a lot of people out. When just by a breast exam, all the doctors that have felt it, it's something. it's just it's coming up very strange cells. So it's something very odd that I definitely do want to get rid of with the protocol. So yeah, I'm not sure if I have cancer. I've always been a really healthy person. Stress has been my biggest downfall, and conventional medicine and I have just never mixed. I've always had bad reactions to drugs, over-the-counter, prescription, and they always made me feel really toxic and really groggy and just wanted them out of my system as soon as they were in. Like, for instance, when I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to do a natural birth because I didn't want the drugs in my system. I wasn't trying to be like a powerful mama. I was just trying to avoid the drugs. And I think my stress and anxiety about going to the hospital, I ended up in an emergency C-section, and it's been a year now, and I still feel gross from it. I still feel like it's in my system, all those drugs. But 7 weeks after I had my baby, I was actually diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia. It's a very rare and painful nerve disorder that usually only happens to women over the age of 50. And before that diagnosis, not to mention my dentist told me it was coming from a tooth and performed an unnecessary root canal. But then, so when I found out it was trigeminal neuralgia, I went for a couple different opinions, and one of the doctors did say she thought it was just referred pain. But the doctors who told me it was trigeminal neuralgia tried to put me on steroids and anti-seizure medication like right away. And of course I said no, and I just did my best, drank lots of water, tried to rest, and it went away. So 2 weeks later it went away. And about a month after that diagnosis, I was with my lactation doctor, and she was just talking about breastfeeding issues, and she did an exam, and she felt the lump, and she just asked me if I knew if that was there, and I said no, not really, and she didn't say much about it. So I was, of course, obsessed with it after she told me, she pointed it out, and so I had my OB check it out, and of course he sent me for a mammogram and an ultrasound, but he told me it really wasn't anything to worry about. I refused the mammogram, but I did do the ultrasound, and of course the radiologist said that I needed the biopsy on it. She said it was low suspicion. And my feeling was, well, I was breastfeeding, so I didn't want to rush into a biopsy because I was at a higher risk for infection. So I decided to see a breast surgeon to get her take on it, just because I thought she looks at these all the time. She'll know if it's really that serious, if I needed to get the biopsy right away. And she said that she didn't think it was anything and I could come back in 3 to 4 months. And so I let 6 months go by, and I finally went in for the biopsy. And I did not get the radiologist I asked for, but the one that I did get said that I could wait to get in with the one I wanted to see, but it would take another month. And she said, you know what, if you want to wait, I'm fine with it. I'm sure it's just a lactating adenoma. You're fine. Don't worry about it. I was like, whatever, I'm in the gown. Let's just do it. So 24 hours later, she called to tell me I had cancer. That week, the hospital called me probably 10 times a day to schedule things, hurry me, push me. They wanted to move forward with tests, exams, consultations. Everything was just such a blur because everyone had told me it was just from breastfeeding. And so I still didn't know any of the details about my cancer until a week later. I met with the surgeon, and she said, oh, so I'm sure the radiologist called and told you, all the details about the cancer, and I said, no, isn't that what I'm here for? And she was really confused, and she didn't know that that's what she was telling me that day. I don't even know if she knew why she was meeting with me. But they told me that I had triple negative breast cancer, which is very aggressive, meaning like that it's not it's not responsive to hormones. And so with triple negative, they tell you they want to, and they use this word, they wanted to bomb my body with chemo first to shrink it, and then they were going to do surgery and radiation. And so when we went home and we had the pathology report in our hands, we started Googling all the words in the pathology report because they didn't go over it word for word with us. And there was this one word in there, and I was labeled as triple negative metaplastic breast cancer. So I kept Googling metaplastic, and I came to find that that triple negative metaplastic is in 0.2% of breast cancers. So I was like, okay, this is really weird. And so the hospital just wanted to treat the triple negative part of it, but they didn't want to recognize the metaplastic part of it. We also found out that metaplastics are actually chemo-resistant in most cases. So most women who do the chemo before the surgery with metaplastics, their tumors actually grew and they were rushed in for surgery. So at this point I was begging the doctors to like tell me about this metaplastic, and they like wouldn't address it. All they did was tell me to stop crying. They told me to put on my big girl panties. They told me to stop breastfeeding immediately, which unfortunately I did, and that I better get started on my chemo. I did go for a second opinion at another hospital and here in Cleveland, and they did not ask for my biopsy slides or anything, so their treatment plan was exactly the same as what I had heard before. They didn't want to do anything differently. So I actually went out of town to Boston to get a third opinion because nothing felt right. Like this just felt like they were treating me garden variety. They weren't treating my cancer, my body, my personality, you know, because I told all the oncologists, like, I hate drugs, you know, like, well, we're going to bomb you. And it's like, okay, that doesn't help. So, you know, so the doctors would, you know, just kept saying, we have to get things going immediately. So I found an oncologist in Boston who was more on the research side of things, and she actually, you know, agreed to meet with me, and because she didn't see patients as much, but she did agree to meet with me, and she said, I want your biopsy slides immediately. So I had them sent to Boston, and the surgeon in Boston, because I met with a surgeon too, said that no problem, that if I wanted surgery first, I could get surgery first, as simple lumpectomy. She said if we could just remove the lump. She says, because this is rare and we want more answers. You know, she's like, I don't think that doing chemo first is the right thing. So I felt a little bit of relief. Gosh, finally somebody's listening. You know, somebody's treating me, you know, for me. And so I really liked what they had to say. Of course, you know, I had been through so much before. So let's see, what was that? So I did schedule surgery in Boston. I had it's set on the calendar. They couldn't take me for another 4 weeks at that point. And, you know, I came home and I thought about it and I said, you know, I don't know if I want to go all the way to Boston for surgery away from my baby. So I tried to go back to the hospitals here in Cleveland and say, you know, would you guys consider doing surgery first? And they said, if you want surgery first, we're going to do mastectomy. This is not a lumpectomy. We're going to take both of your breasts because metaplastics jump around. And, you know, so, you know, of course, you know, I was getting all these different opinions, different doctors, which is fine. That's what I was looking for, right? So, but it's just, you know, crazy how many different stories I got. And so I kept the surgery in Boston, but, you know, I kept thinking about it and it didn't feel right. And so I even started to look for 4th, 5th, 6th opinions. Yeah, I didn't feel settled with any of it. So I canceled my surgery in Boston, and flash forward to a week after that scheduled surgery date, and in that time, this is actually when I met the Maras, and I started alternative treatments and holistic doctors, naturopaths, you know, so I did, that's when I said to myself, I'm canceling the surgery in Boston, and I'm just going to I'm going to give this a try first. And I actually did do another MRI in that amount of time too before I canceled the surgery to see if it had grown, because of course if it had grown I would be more nervous. And actually that one hospital said it had stayed the same, and then the other hospital said it was actually 0.4 centimeters smaller. Fast forward to a week after that scheduled surgery in Boston, I got a phone call from the surgeon in Boston. And I was so freaked out. I was with the baby alone. I didn't want to answer the phone, but when I did, I was like, please, I'm alone with the baby. What do you want?
Yeah.
And, you know, and she said, well, it's good news. And she said to me that they didn't see cancer on those same biopsy slides that Cleveland Clinic had sent them. So that very same biopsy that doctors wanted to bomb my body with chemo with was now something different. Not necessarily, they called it now, instead of metaplastic triple negative breast cancer, they're calling it an epithelial neoplasm. So I'm now in a place where, like, thank gosh I'm doing all these things, you know, like with the Maras and with Dr. Pesek, and I feel amazing, even though I have a 1-year-old who still doesn't sleep through the night. So yeah, I am searching out one more opinion on my biopsy, an independent pathologist in California, because I don't want any hospital affiliation, just to kind of get his take on it. And I'm just going to keep moving forward, finding out information, but the one thing that's going to stay constant is my choosing. Oh, sure, questions.
Now, wasn't that phenomenal? She's under a lot of pressure, to now let you know this, from a lot of people that think
Yeah.
she's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
People thought we were crazy too.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Any questions for Kate?
I got something to say. While she's been going through that, she's been my biggest support. So
Aw.
that goes to show
Thank
how
you.
great I am.
And same to you. You check in on me all the time, and it means the world.
Because
Yeah.
what if she had gone
Got
through?
it.
What if she got through the double mastectomy?
Right.
What if?
Right.
The pressure's there. The
Right.
pressure, you feel it. When they came out to me, said, you've got to talk to me to get surgery.
Yep.
Every time my phone rings and I don't know the number, like I break down, like I lose it.
If she would have went through the first doctor, she would have had a double mastectomy, and she'd have probably been on her
Radiation.
16th treatment of chemo by now.
Chemo, 33
Yeah.
radiation treatments and 10 years of
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
tamoxifen. Yeah, I've
And
been
unable to have children.
unable
Right.
to ever have children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you
Right.
took all the treatment.
Yeah.
Right.
Just when I'm at my peak and want to the most. Yeah,
Right.
my life would have been over. Yeah. So go on.
Exactly. Yes. Thank
Anybody
you.
else? Nobody else? Well, keep Kate in your prayers that everything
Now we're going to have Dr. Roger Moore just say a few words about the supplements that we have here. And so, Dr. Roger.
Thank you, John. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. As you've heard this evening, nutrition is very important to all of us. And fortunately, God has given us a lot of fruits and vegetables for us to consume. The thing is, what they're finding today is that the amount of fruits and vegetables we need are roughly 8 to 14 servings. So, John consumes about $300 worth of organic fruits and vegetables every week.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, when he buys it, he's buying it by the case.
Yeah.
Okay, but he was at. I met John about 3 months ago, and I scanned him and his wife and Teresa Danello and a couple other people, and at that night I had the lowest score of the group. My score was 63,000. Okay, and that's a great score. Okay, but I've done it by supplements. I mean, I can't afford $300 worth of organic fruits and vegetables. What John liked about the fact that the scanner it was a device that validates his lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to point out there were 2 people tonight that had A scores. I had one individual with a score of 63,000, another woman here at 72,000. Okay, so I know there's a half a dozen people other than my friend Yuki here from Japan. Her score's around 84,000. John's consistently in the 70,000 level. Now, in my case, a year and a half ago, I had a failing score. My score was 16,000. Okay, I thought I was eating well. But unfortunately, I was only eating probably 4 to 6 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Okay? And I mean, and also I was on a supplement that my pharmacist recommended. It was manufactured by SmithKline Beecham. It's a pharmaceutical company. It's called Centrum Prime. Okay, I'm an older person, and she says it's the best stuff I could take. And I've been on it for 2 years. Okay? And I got scanned. I had a friend that actually had a scanner at that time period, and I had a failing score. I switched my supplement over to this one, this Lacpac you saw back on the table, and I've gone from a failing score to an A score in a year. Okay? So the point I want to make tonight is there are different ways of getting your score up. Okay? If you can eat fruits and vegetables, that's great. Okay? But a supplement is even important to you, even if your score is high, because all of your fruits and vegetables may be lacking in some of the minerals. You may not be getting all the selenium, all the manganese, all the magnesium, all the different things that you might really need. And that's where a supplement helps out. So even if your score is 50 or 60,000, having a nutritional supplement that's got some krill oil, it's got your vitamins and minerals are actually very helpful for you, okay? It's like assuming that everything's got everything. It's going to have high levels of antioxidants, which are good for you, but you really need, again, that balance. The reason we call things vitamins, these are the things, the chemicals in our body that we've determined that are important for life that your body does not produce. Okay, so we need them from our food sources. Okay, you get it from supplement or you get it from nutrition. Okay, so I want to just point out that these products are available. John's taking orders for these products. The particular products that we're actually manufacturing here, the product we have on the table, is one of the few nutritional supplements actually listed on the physician's desk reference. Now, you may or may not be familiar with this particular document. The physician's desk reference, or the PDR, is what physicians use to prescribe medications to you. Okay, so if you're having a heart ailment or something, they'll list a product as long as the PDR, they can refer that to you. Our LifePak Nano is actually listed as one of the only nutritional supplements actually in the PDR. We also have a product called T-Green 97. This is a product that's been clinically proven to prevent and treat prostate cancer. Okay, it's on the PDR. Okay, so we have a number of different products. We also have our essential oils. We have skincare products. It's just a really nice company. I was introduced to this just a couple of years ago. So John just asked me to just talk a little bit about that, but I'm a walking testament myself. I've gone from a score of 16,000 to 63,000. I'm also on a product called R Squared, and this is a product that's a function of a science called epigenetics. How many of you know what epigenetics is? Great. Epigenetics is a science of gene expression, okay? And I'm on a product that's actually resetting my gene expression, okay, such that I'm slowing my aging process, okay? In my particular case, I wear a progressive bifocal lens. I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm at a point now where I don't need my glasses to read anymore. Okay, I'm getting hair growth. My skin is improved. Yeah. Well, this will help if you still have hair follicles. Really, this will help promote hair growth. If you've lost that, you're too far gone. Okay. But what about my point though is this science of epigenetics is progressing rapidly. Okay. This company is actually introducing a product in November, which is going to improve your health in terms of anti-aging defense mechanisms in 6 different areas. This is actually going to repair your cells and your telomeres of your DNA, for one case. Secondly, it's going to arrest chronic low-level inflammation. Now, if you know what cancer is, cancer starts with chronic low-level inflammation. Okay? This is going to arrest that. Now, granted, if you've had an injury, you're going to get inflammation because that's a natural process of your body to heal itself. But a lot of times, you'll get inflammation that's caused actually from eating some animal protein. Okay, this is going to arrest this. This product is also going to help with cellular rejuvenation. What I mean by that is I'm talking about the cells in your brain, your bones, your heart, your lung, your skin are going to be reproduced at the level they were when you were 25. Now think about that. I'm talking about having your bones reproduce at the level when you're 25. Now when you're my age, I'm 67, okay? I know when I fall down, my bones are not as strong as they were when I was 25. Okay? I mean, my bones hurt. I can injure my bones, okay? I'm going to be in a position where I'm actually going to be able to increase my bone density. This product is going to arrest protein deformation. Protein deformation is the first step in the process of dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay, now, again, it's a nutritional supplement. It's not governed by the Food and Drug Administration, so I cannot make claims that this product is going to cure or treat dementia or Alzheimer's. I can't make that claim. However, if you know what the process which causes it, which is protein deformation, and we know our product stops that, you can draw your own conclusion. Okay, it's significant. Okay, this product is coming out in November. Talk to John, talk to Rob McSween and myself. They're looking at $1 billion product launch in November. I mean, this is going to be something everyone wants to be on. I mean, this is really going to change your life. What they're saying is this product, when you age 1 year, your body's going to age 2 months. Okay, it's not the fountain of youth, okay? And when you're my age at 67, it's not going to mean I'm going to be 30 again. But I'm going to start to enjoy what we call youth preservation. But the science of epigenetics is actually featured in Time magazine earlier this year. And they're actually predicting that infants born this year may have a life expectancy of 130 or 140. Okay? That's for several reasons. One, the ability to actually have limb transplants is coming. Okay? As a matter of fact, there was a successful surgery yesterday, I saw it on CNN, where the individual actually had an amputation of his hand and was actually fitted with a prosthetic that has sensory function. It's connected with a probe with some sort of function to his brain. Actually, he's able to feel with a prosthetic. Okay? This is amazing where technology is going. So I just wanted to bring this information to you. If you've got any questions, see me, see Rob or John. We'd be glad to help you out. Can I answer any questions you might have? Yes?
If someone has Alzheimer's / dementia
Yes.
from use of chemotherapy,
Yes.
do you think that it could help sustain without worsening the situation?
Well,
or
the problem with
overturn it?
dementia and Alzheimer's is you've actually broken the synapses in your brain. Once that connection is broken, it's like unplugging, okay?
Yes.
This is not going to get that connection back.
I see.
What you want to do is to keep that connection in, if you will, allowing the synapses to be in place, okay?
Stop it before it happens.
It's not something that's going to reverse that.
I see.
Okay? Now, we're starting to see, however, that many of you may have children, for example, that have ADD or ADHD. We're learning that nutrition can actually reverse things, okay? Autism actually can be treated with proper nutrition. Okay, so a lot of advances in science and nutrition today. So, again, talk to one of us. We'd be glad to help with any questions you have, okay? Thank you, John.
Okay, well, good. Any other questions for me or Nancy about anything? Well, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it so much. And
Thank you for having us.
well, hope you all learned something.
Try to get our phone numbers before you leave, a card or so forth. We'll scan you again.
Okay.
Whether you're going supplements or not, you're going home with that. We'll scan you again. But, give us a call. We'll have a scan party. We love to talk about it. We really want to inform, okay? We want to inform others,
Yeah.
okay? We'll come to your house, invite 10, 15 people. We'll have the wine before.
It's
So you don't let your squirrel will be a little drunk,
Oh, by the way, if anyone wants a book signed, I'll be in the back. I'll sign the books for you.
You could have kept this to yourself. It's really great what you do.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So much of it in the
Oh, you did so good.